I had rehearsed the conversation 100 times in my head. I had practiced the words in the mirror. I had written them down and crossed them out and rewritten them. I had chosen a calm evening, a quiet moment, the right tone. I had decided I would be steady and clear and adult about it. I had told myself that whatever his reaction was, I would handle it with dignity. Nothing I rehearsed prepared me for what actually happened. My name is Sarah. I had been married to Nathan for 6 years. From the outside, our marriage looked like many others: a house, a routine, a shared life that had grown comfortable in the way that things do when two people stop truly seeing each other. But behind the closed doors of that comfortable life was something that had been slowly suffocating me for years. Nathan did not hit me. I want to be clear about that because I know people hear stories like mine and expect bruises. His control was quieter than that, more sophisticated. He controlled the money so completely that I needed to account for every purchase. He monitored my phone with an openness that he had somehow reframed as love and transparency. He decided which friends were appropriate, which family visits were too frequent, which version of me was acceptable to present to the world. 6 years of that leaves marks that do not show up on skin. I asked for the divorce on a Sunday evening in March. The children were at my mother's for the weekend. I had chosen the timing deliberately. No witnesses, no disruption, just two adults having a necessary and long overdue conversation. I told him calmly that I wanted to end the marriage, that I had thought about it carefully and completely, that I believed we would both be better apart than we were together. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up slowly, walked to the front door, and locked it. He put the key in his pocket. Then he walked to the back door and locked that too. He collected my phone from the kitchen counter where I had left it charging. He went upstairs, and I heard him moving through the bedroom, through the study. He came back downstairs and sat across from me with the same calm expression he had worn throughout. "You are not going anywhere," he said, "and this conversation is finished." I sat very still, because I understood immediately and completely what was happening. This was not anger. This was not a man momentarily losing control. This was a man showing me a version of himself he had kept carefully managed for 6 years. The version that had always been underneath the quieter controls, but had never needed to surface so directly before. I asked him to return my phone. He said no. I told him locking me in the house was illegal. He smiled in a way that made my stomach turn and said nobody knew I was there. The first night was the longest of my life. I did not sleep. I sat in the bedroom listening to the house and thinking about my children at my mother's and measuring every option available to me against the reality of the locked doors and the missing phone. By the second morning, I had found one possibility. There was a landline in the study, old, rarely used, something Nathan had overlooked in his thoroughness because neither of us had touched it in years. I waited until he was in the shower. I went to the study, closed the door quietly, and dialed the one number I knew entirely by heart. My father answered on the third ring. I had approximately 90 seconds before the shower would stop. I told him the address. I told him the doors were locked. I told him to come and to bring someone with him. Then I put the phone back exactly where it had been and returned to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed and waited. My father arrived 4 hours later. He did not come alone. He brought my uncle, my cousin, and a police officer he had contacted on the drive over. I heard the knock at the front door from upstairs. I heard Nathan's voice, smooth, composed, the version he used for other people. I heard my father's voice respond. My father's voice was not smooth. It was not composed. It was the voice of a man who had driven 4 hours with cold clarity and had absolutely no intention of leaving without his daughter. Nathan opened the door. I came downstairs with the single bag I had packed in the 2 hours between the phone call and their arrival. Nathan watched me walk toward the door with an expression I had never seen him before. Not anger, not the controlled calm, something closer to the realization that the thing he had built around me had just come apart faster than he believed possible. My father put his hand on my back as I walked out. He did not say anything to Nathan. He didn't need to. Outside, the air was cold and sharp, and the most beautiful thing I had ever felt on my face. I filed for the divorce the following week. Nathan contested nothing. I think on some level he understood that the man who had driven 4 hours with a police officer was a man who had only just begun to respond, and that testing him further would reveal exactly how far my father was willing to go. The answer was as far as it took. It always had been. If this story touched your heart, please consider subscribing to this channel. Every subscriber helps me share more meaningful stories like this. Thank you so much for being here.